Welcome to this evening's premiere on World of Woodrow. It's the Judge's Decision Christmas Special Part 1 of 2, where Anderson 9132 takes us through a very Series 4 special. This programme will contain some strong language and a little bit of arguing. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very special Christmas edition of the Judge's Decision podcast. We're recording this in November. Although... What a festive November it is. They started playing Christmas songs on the radio. They did an hour of Christmas songs. And
There's nothing that says Christmas more than watching it absolutely hack it down with rain outside.
Oh, we haven't had any rain here.
Well, good for you.
It's also been not that cold here.
That's the problem, you see, living in Southampton. I'm literally right next to the ocean. That ocean breeze, baby.
But I have to live with the other Norfolk people, so you know. With our dyke dishes and whatever.
God's sakes, you're trying to kill...
Never get old. Anderson, lovely of you to join me once again.
Oh, well, I mean, I may as well continue doing it. I've been there for quite a few now.
Yes, and this very special Christmas edition, we ought to explain what's going on. If you didn't listen to the last episode, which I'm hoping Past Me has edited and put out, he certainly started editing it by the time we've started recording this one, so, get your act together. But in this episode, it's a little bit different. So Anderson has picked 6 robots from his favourite series of Robot Wars, Series 4, and they have been split into 2 3-way melees, like the Series 4 format. We have the Series 4 house robots. It's all Series 4. We are living in we're living in 2000 something now, aren't we? What year was it?
It was late 2000 to early 2001.
Great.
That makes me feel old.
And unwittingly, I think this was the first series I watched, but I don't remember much of it. So this is where it's going to get tricky, because it's my turn to choose who wins fights. And I'll be honest, when Anderson picked some of these, I couldn't remember them, even though I just rewatched Series 4.
Meanwhile, myself personally, this is the only series of Robot Wars that I have every single episode of on those good old-fashioned big black VHS tapes. So obviously, as a kid, I rewatched the living hell out of this series. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had bits of Series 5, most of Series 6, and most of Series 7, but I didn't have all of it. So, of course, meanwhile, this is the only series... I mean, this series, honestly, Series 4, I have watched every heat at least 50 times, if not more. I've watched them religiously. And I still get a kick out of watching it today. It's my favourite series, and I know it like the back of my hand. So if Jevon gets stuck, which he will, yep, I will help him.
Thank you very much. And that is why we have 2 people on this podcast, and it's not just me spurting garbage.
Well, like that, you mean?
Yeah, exactly like that. Into the microphone. Good. Right. This is already off to a brilliant start. Just like all the other
Yuletide spirit, ladies and gentlemen. He's had too much of the communion wine again.
I've been on the eggnog. I don't think I'd ever drink eggnog. Christmas is one of very few times a year I actually drink alcohol. That is, I drink at other times. I would die.
Jevon looks like a raisin, everyone. He looks like he's just a walking raisin. There we go. Keith Richards has nothing on this guy.
I thought you were going to say he looks like a walking razor. I'm not that thin.
Well, you do have the forehead of Ian Lewis. Anyway.
Okay. Wow. Sure.
I'm sorry.
Insults. Good. Right. Well, here we go then. Anderson, I shall throw hosting duties over to you, because they're your robots, and deal with it.
Ooh. Okay. So, in the first melee, we have Indefatigable. No, we don't. We don't have Indefatigable. Don't worry. No, in melee 1, we have a newcomer, and we have 2 veterans, both of which were seeded for Series 4. We have, as the newcomer, Dominator 2, and we also have the 2 seeded machines, which were in Series 4, Wild Thing and Gravedigger. These are three very good machines, in my opinion. I like all of them very, very much. So I look forward to seeing what Jevon has to say about all of them. But first of all, Jevon, what house robots are going to be in the arena? And remember, you have to pick four, not two. Remember that, because it's Series 4, and they had the correct amount of house robots in the arena at one time.
No, they didn't. They had one extra every time who didn't need to be there at this point.
To be fair, yeah, Refbot in Series 4, I mean, he was kind of pointless, to be fair, without his count.
I don't think he ever did anything.
I think he mostly just separated robots and they got stuck together.
I don't even remember him doing that.
I remember him helping robots when they were stuck on the sidewall. I remember that happening a couple of times.
Well, yeah.
He also tried grabbing a hold of Mousetrap with his claw. It sounds weird, but yeah.
Good. Right. Well, house robot wise, I have come up with a cunning plan. So I have written down all of the house robots that were around at the time, including All Hail Sergeant Bash. Woo!
Oh, hey, ho.
Indeed. And what I'm going to do is just cycle through them. So in the first battle, we're going to have Sir Killalot.
Ooh.
We're going to have Dead Metal.
Ooh.
We ought to have Dear Bash.
Oh.
And let's throw Matilda in there.
Ooh. Interesting. Very nice layout. How Series 4 of you. So,
thank you.
What are the tactics going into this one? Because you've got three very different style of robot here.
Yeah. So Wild Thing is mainly a wedge. Their tactics, other than using that little prongy lifter the prongy lifter does surprising amounts of prongy lifting, and that's going to be their main tactic. Obviously, they're going to want to push them into house robots, into arena hazards. The pit was a thing, wasn't it? At this point, yeah, the pit was a thing.
Yes, it was.
Too, wasn't
but
it?
there was no pit release button. The pit lowered randomly. Usually, it lowered halfway through a battle, unless it was one of like the battles that was like a higher stake battle, like a semi-final or a grand final, and then it only lowered when the robot was immobilized.
Yes, and fights are 5 minutes back then, aren't they? Or back now? We've travelled back in time, okay, for this one.
Yes.
Officially living in that early 2000s.
Yes, life is good. Life is good. The internet still hasn't taken off as well as it would. YouTube isn't a thing, which makes this podcast impossible. And I don't know. I swear we're still.
We're time travellers. We
Yes.
can bring this audio back to the future.
Of course. We would play the Back to the Future thing, but we don't want to get sued.
Yeah, we'd definitely get sued. Dominator 2. So they're a relatively new machine at this point. Right, for the purposes of this, we're pretending that anything that these robots do in the future doesn't mean a thing because we are back in time and they haven't done them yet. So Wild Thing currently is the prongy lifter. They don't have a spinner. They haven't nearly pitted Chaos 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Dominator 2 hasn't yet reached a semi-final.
Yes, that's fair enough. Yep, okay, that's fair to say. It's fair to say. And Gravedigger hasn't yet had a flipper malfunction and then got stuck on its side thanks to Thermopore.
So Gravedigger are going to get stuck on their side because you called them Thermopore. No.
I'm surprised you're not loving Gravedigger, mate. It's from your home county. It's from Norwich as well. Yeah, it's from Norwich as well, yeah.
Good grief. I need to get up on my... I have a map showing where all the modern robots are from. Which I've sent to several people. Right, so Dominator 2 are going to be looking to get lots of axe blows, score lots of aggression points, get lots of damage because that means a lot these days. And Gravedigger, they're like a front hinge flipper and a rear hinge flipper if you turn the robot round at this point, aren't they?
Yes, pretty much. Although, to be fair, the prongs at the back are pretty useless. They're like really tiny and they barely touch the floor.
Okay then. So,
yeah.
I think the main tactic is to try and push into sidewalls and things. Out of the arenas are a thing, but I don't think any of these robots are capable of it. Unless you got really high up on Gravedigger and they put in a massive flip, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, yeah, I think... Well, Wild Thing has a reputation already at this point, I would say, as being very difficult to kill. They are relentless, they keep going at you, they keep going at you, they keep going at you, and you do very well to survive a Wild Thing match. Or at the very least, you do very well to win a Wild Thing match. Gravedigger, I sort of feel that they don't do, or they're not as good this series as they were in Series 3. They were a pretty good front hinge flipper back then, and this new redesign is a little bit weak in my opinion. And Dominator 2 proves that it is a bloody good robot, really. Certainly a step up from Dominator 1, or just Dominator as it was, which barely appeared, didn't it?
Yeah, it was only in the pinball. Yeah, it failed to qualify, and it was actually the first ever robot to go in the pinball, and it came second overall.
Well, there we are.
Yes.
Right. If I'm looking at this from a point of view as who's going to win this, I think the match is going to get to that stage where the pit randomly drops, and somebody's going to go down it. And I'm thinking Wild Thing with the pushing power, Dominator 2 with the weaponry. I think Gravedigger's probably going to go down.
Okie dokie. So you're saying Gravedigger out?
I am.
That's very interesting, because of the 3 robots to go out, I would say Gravedigger would go out.
Well then.
Now, having known this series as well as it is, okay. By the way, just so you know, the reason why we know that the picture of Dominator 2 at the moment is the Series 6 one. Don't worry, we get that. We know they didn't have wheel guards at this point. Problem, the picture of the Series 4 version wasn't very good quality, so deal with it. Okay, no, we live in 2019, but we can't get decent picture of Dominator 2. But so obviously the wheel guards are taken out. However, I still don't think that Wild Thing's little spike on the arm could penetrate those tires of Dominator 2.
No, I'm
just going to say that now.
Very thick.
They are very thick tires. But when it comes down to it, Gravedigger's got very exposed sides, which Wild Thing love to exploit. And whilst I can't see it getting stuck on its side this time, because neither of these 2 robots it's against could really probably do that, it's got a very exposed top, because obviously the flipper arm is so thin. Dominator 2's axe was ridiculously powerful in this series. Could go through most things it went against. I don't think Gravedigger's going to be an exception. If it isn't a KO via axe blow, it will be a simple case of it being dominated. Because whilst I do like Gravedigger, I do see it as the weakest robot of these 3. I wanted to give it another chance because I felt that it was a really good robot in Series 4 that unfortunately got very unlucky. But being honest, I can't see it beating either of these 2 in a one-on-one fight, let alone when they're both in the arena with it. So I'm agreeing with Jevon on that one.
Marvellous. Well, there we are with that then. Wild Thing and Dominator 2 will go through at some point. Now, at this point, I'd like to explain how we're going to put them through. Anderson was explaining to me that the production would put through the seeds into separate semi-finals. You explained it better than I did.
Yeah, basically, in Series 4, if both... Because there was 2 seeds per heat, 1 in each first-round melee. If they both won their particular melees and went through to the heat semis, they were put into separate heat semi-finals. Problem is, we haven't got any of these robots seeded. So, and also, another rule, obviously, of Series 4 was if only 1 seed went through, they would randomize it. Basically, it was done randomly, and we didn't really know how to do it randomly, so we've come up with a bit of a solution. What Jevon is doing is he's giving the 2 winners from Melee 1 the numbers 1 and 2, and then he's going to give the 2 winners from Melee 2 the numbers 3 and 4, and then I basically just pick 2 random numbers, and then he puts them together. So I don't know what numbers he's given.
No. And I'm mixing numbers up. I'm not just going in order of the robots that Anderson read out at the start of the fight, because that would just be dumb.
That would be dumb and childish, so change them now, Jevon, before they notice. So, with that being said, Dominator 2 and Wild Thing are both been numbered either 1 and 2 respectively. It doesn't matter which one's which. I have no idea. Gravedigger unfortunately goes out early on. Melee 2, we see Evil Weevil, the lovely gold edition, Overkill GCI, and Mortis. Now, I heard that, oh god, Jevon. Shut up, Evil Weevil's decent. There we go. He's just jealous, ladies and gentlemen. He's just jealous because Evil Weevil beat a pair of tracks. That's the only reason why he's upset. He's a salty boy. And this version had every right to win its heat. Just because they forgot to put a fucking decent battery in it does not mean the robot is bad. It is Kevin Pritchard's fault, not the robot. Deal with it. Rant over.
It lost to Tiberius and Mousetrap.
Because they put the wrong battery in it. If they put a fully charged battery in it, it would have won the fight. It's not difficult.
Sam Smith already taking out the worst robots.
Yeah. Right, I'm just going to say this now before we continue, because like we said, we're starting the slate clean here. Yes. We are going to assume that the Evil Weevil team put a fully charged battery in the robot. Are we both in agreement here?
Yeah, this is some weird parallel universe, and not only are we travelling in time, we are jumping dimensions where the Evil Weevil team do something, the right way.
We've travelled in time, gone backstage, smacked Kevin Pritchard in the face, and put the right fucking battery in. That's what we've done.
We've knocked him out, and we have replaced him with a cardboard cutout that we are now mouthing the... Hello, I am definitely Kevin Pritchard. Don't look at the body on the floor.
Mate, if we were driving Evil Weevil and we were in charge of it, then it would have won Series 4. That's just a fact. There's no doubt about it.
Oh no, knowing me, I wouldn't have got the speed controllers in time, and we'd have had to butcher the internals and then cover the internals in gloves and then enter into the arena and then beat Thor.
And judging by my driving of your amp weight, we would have been in the pit in the opening 10 seconds.
And then a big hand would have taken us out of the pit. Big hand would have taken you out of the pit, put you back in the arena, and you'd driven straight back in there.
Yes. Yes, don't let me near a controller. Jesus Christ. Right, so tactically, what do you think is going to happen in this battle?
Well, first of all...
Oh, which house robots?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So, right.
I know. I was channeling my inner Jevon there. Sorry, forgetting about how the podcast works.
Okay. That's how it's going to be, is it? Right, so if I'm doing my whole circling through, we'll have Dead Metal, Sergeant Bash, Matilda, and Shunt this time, so no Circular Lot.
Ooh, very interesting. I say that because Circular Lot was almost always in the arena in Series 4.
Yeah, but,
it's nice to have a difference, isn't it? It's nice to, have something different. Right. So how do you think this is going to go?
Well, now you see. I think Evil Weevil is going to catch fire immediately. No. What does Overkill do?
Overkill has two flippers mounted onto. It's really weird. The best way to show you is basically to watch the video. But you see where the spine of the wedge is.
Yes.
On either side of that, so on just on basically between the spine and like the downward wedgy bits, is a flipping arm. So he's basically got two CO2 power flipping arms.
Okay.
And they're actually quite powerful. They were able to chuck Smidsy, which was I believe 80 kilos at this point, a good half a foot in the air. So they were quite powerful in their own right.
It's just a shame it was on this weird sort of half pyramid shape.
Yeah, I'll admit the actual ability to get under things was greatly hindered by the fact that the bit of the wedge that it got under things was about the same size as a fucking thimble. But apart from that, it was a pretty and it was also made out of ground clearance. I don't know if you can tell in the picture you're looking at, but this thing had a lot of ground clearance. Like it had at least 6 centimeters at the back of the thing. I'm not even joking. At least, if not more. I mean, like I said, go watch the video. It was in Heat O of Series 4. But I still say it was an unlucky robot because it was against both Smidsy and Panic Attack in its opening battle. I mean, come on.
Is this the episode where Panic Attack and Evil Weevil were in the same heat?
They were never in the same heat.
Right, okay. Never mind.
There was never an episode where they were in the same heat.
I've made that up in my head then because they look identical in one series.
They do not look identical. They look bugger all alike. Get your eyes checked, mate.
Except for the front lifting forks.
Oh, well, okay. Well, by that logic, then Bulldog Breed looks like Chaos too.
It does.
It really doesn't.
Here now, Apollo looks like all the other Brit flippers, except Dan Tomkey and Bullfrog. But in fairness, Bullfrog operates like Thermidor, so
Well, look at it. Bullfrog is a rip-off of Napalm because it doesn't work.
It's fine. It's full of gloves. Everyone's fine. I don't know if I told you this. We literally Tim Rackers, because we needed to pad out the insides. The internals would shake otherwise. We had to pad out the internals with all of our gloves. So we went into the arena and effectively outlasted Thor with a load of gloves in our robot. Which I feel is just a massive middle finger.
It is. It is.
Right, anyway, back to 2001, 2002. For years, I disliked Mortis.
Really?
That's just a statement. I'm not going into any more detail. I still dislike Evil. Has Evil Weevil got an axe in this?
Yeah, it's got an axe and it's got a set of lifting forks. Yeah.
Okay. Right. If I'm looking at this properly, Evil Weevil has a pretty good chance of snagging the tracks of Mortis at the side, because that thing has ground clearance for days.
Yes.
The same could be said. They could get the forks in under Overkill GTI. Now the question is, I know Mortis can self-right. Can Overkill?
It depends. It sounds a bit weird. There was a moment in series in its opening melee where it got toppled over, but it landed against the side wall, and it meant that when its flip was lifted, they couldn't quite hit the floor.
Right.
So, and by that logic, no, not from a certain angle. However, if it was actually upside down, judging by the shape of it and the fact they were quite capable of flicking Sminty into the air, I'd probably say they did have a reasonable, fair chance of self-righting had they landed upside down properly. So I'm not going to say a 100% chance because nothing's 100%, but I'd say about an 80% chance they could have self-righted.
See, the thing with what you've just said is that I get the feeling that if Evil Weevil were to lift them up, they wouldn't be able to turn them over completely unless they pushed them against the sidewall.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's just whether... Right, Mortis is a competent machine. It has a long, old history at this point already, and their only loss was to Steg 2, which, in fairness, is a flipping good machine, and no pun intended, sorry.
Hey!
I don't think they would have any issue puncturing that outer skin of Evil Weevil.
No, I'll mention it now. Evil Weevil's armor, I believe, was fiberglass, so...
It's just
pretty
terrible. It really is. I hope
Mate, robots were made of fiberglass back then. It was a thing. A lot of robots were made of fiberglass in Series 3 and 4.
Yeah, and a lot of things
Loads of them were. Loads of... Mate, Matilda was made out of bloody... I shook your head.
I don't remember Overkill, which means it probably didn't do too well. I remember Evil Weevil probably for all the wrong reasons, but let's face it. Out of the three of these machines, yes, Overkill has a decent flipper on it. Oh, no, actually. Now, this is something I haven't thought about. If Overkill got under Evil Weevil, can Evil Weevil self-right?
Yes, that was... I was actually going to bring that up once I heard what you said. Because I was going to give you my 2 cents and see if it changed your mind. Yeah, being honest, I don't think Evil Weevil would have been able to self-right. Being honest.
In which case, the bad robot goes out. Good, right.
So you think Evil Weevil's lost, even though it's not a bad robot? Okay.
I think Evil Weevil has lost because it's a bad robot.
I mean, it's not, but whatever.
Okay, its looks aren't great, but the weaponry on it, I'm a fan of. I like the lifting forks. I like the fact that they went away from the panic attack design of the lifting forks as well. They went with their own thing, and the little proddy axe thing does look like it would cause some robots some problems. So I'll give it that, but if it's not going to self-right and it's made of fiberglass, it's dead in my books.
Fuck's sakes. God, this guy is a bloody salty boy over fiberglass. Yeah, I'll be honest as well, out of these three... I mean, it's tough. I mean, Mortis is going through no matter what. I'm sorry, just... When you said that Evil Weevil could snag its tracks, I wanted to agree with you, but Panic Attack couldn't even do that, and they've got a much better lifted forks than Evil Weevil, so...
I'd forgotten that fight had even happened.
Yeah. And then, obviously, we have the whole... between Overkill and Evil Weevil, I can see Evil Weevil getting underneath Overkill and pushing it around and giving it a few hits with the axe. But I can also see Overkill sliding under Evil Weevil and flipping it. And, like I said, I'm not 100% sure if Evil Weevil could self-right. So because of that, I agree with you. I do as much as it pains me because Evil Weevil is the best or whatever, and way better than
I'm sorry,
Bullfrog. I
you can't honestly say it's the best robot ever. I will
Oh no, it's
admit
not.
it did
It's not the
better
best
than
robot
Bullfrog.
ever. I admit it's not the best robot ever. Don't worry.
I will agree that it probably at this point in time is better than Bullfrog because Bullfrog uh,
Doesn't work.
is sat in a DT room looking sad. Um,
I'm sorry. I'm joking. I'm joking. But
I'm
yeah, no,
not.
I agree. Oh bless you. Yeah, Overkill goes through, which is actually a good thing because I like Overkill, and I think they were very unlucky to lose as early as they did
Yes.
because it's a good robot. And to be honest, being real here, if it was put in Evil Weevil's heat, it would have won it. So honestly, I think it
Yeah.
would have won Evil Weevil's heat, no problem.
Cool. Okay, Anderson. It is now time to choose.
Right, I'm gonna be really, really, really cool here. I'm gonna have 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3.
Okay, you have sealed some fates there. So 1 versus 4
Yep.
and 2 versus 3. Do you want
Yes.
to hazard a guess at how that's gone?
Oh God. See, I'm a bit worried that I've gone and put Mortis against Dominator. No, but I think I put Mortis against Wild Thing and Overkill versus Dominator 2. Is that what I've done?
No, you've done what you first said. You've put
Oh,
Mortis
really? I
against
put
Dominator
Mortis versus
2
Dominator 2.
and Wild Thing against Overkill GTI.
I mean, I guess that's pretty good because it means we've got a lifty weapon versus an axie weapon in the heat final. The
Yes.
bad news is Dominator 2 and Mortis are both impenetrable as fuck. Battles, I know, okay, 1 and 4 in the first battles. Which two is that?
Dominator 2 and Mortis.
Right, okie dokie. So,
House robot
Jevon,
wise,
go and house robots.
Sergeant Bash, Matilda,
Yes.
Shunt,
Yes.
Sir Killalot.
Yeah, boy. Right, who's who's winning out of these two? Good luck, my friend. This is going to be a bastard.
Yep. Right. My understanding is Dominator 2 is a really awkward shape.
Yes.
That said, you can still flip it. And also still said Dominator 2 can self-right at this point, I think.
Oh yeah, Dominator 2 is renowned for having one of the most flamboyant and best-looking self-rights of any robot.
Yes. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does. So
It does.
that doesn't play a factor in my books. What does
May
play
I
a
also
factor... Oh, go on.
this might play a factor in your book. So I'm not saying that this would happen in this battle in particular, but Dominator 2 never lost to a robot with a flipper
Yeah.
or a lifter. It was always capable of self-righting and coming back and axing the shit out of it and getting the damage points. Like I said, I'm not saying that would be what would happen in this fight. It's just something to consider.
Yeah. Well, what I was also going to say is Dominator 2 has the lower ground clearance.
Yes.
I mean, that thing was barely off the floor, whereas Mortis, you can see right under it.
Yes.
Do they yet have the plasma nitride coated?
Yeah, oh yes. Yep, that's all Julia mentioned, basically. Whenever it was on camera, to the point where in the semi-final, she literally, I think it was the semi-final, pretty certain it was, she literally said, by the way, I'd just like to remind you all one more time that there is plasma nitride coated titanium. Thank you very much.
It's paint.
It's... all right, executioner.
It is.
I know it is. It is literally.
Paint.
Hey, it's titanium covered in a certain kind of paint. But it was still very solid armor for the time. I mean, titanium at the time
wasn't about that much in this series, or at all, other than Dominator 2,
well,
I think.
Dominator 2, Behemoth, and Cerberus.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
And I believe, and also ironic, but here you go. Onslaught's rear ramming spikes were also made out of titanium as well, believe it or not.
Oh, la-di-da.
Yeah, I know. The rear spikes of death.
Okay, I think you can tell which way I'm leaning. I'm gonna put Dominator 2 through just because it can out-wedge Mortis.
That's fair enough.
We all know that most of these fights end with somebody out-wedging somebody, and They end up either in a CPZ, and as soon as they're in a CPZ, they're eaten for breakfast. They are just devoured by house robots. They swarm.
Right,
The moment you touch a CPZ, even if you don't touch a CPZ, they're there.
Right, I'm going to give you some facts. I'm not saying you have to. This has to change your mind. Just a couple of facts to consider and see if it changes your mind.
Okay.
So obviously, Mortis, because of his weaponry, had some vulnerable slots on the top of it.
Yeah.
So again, Dominator 2 could get his axe in place. But remember, Dominator 2 has a lot of mechanism exposed in the middle of that double V shape.
Yes.
Also, despite having very, very strong armor for the time, whenever it was flipped, you could quite clearly see it had a very see-through, very clear plastic underbelly. Now, it was very quick at self-righting, but Mortis also had a very quick axe, so that's something you can also take into consideration. Also, because of the armor situation, I really can't see either robot doing any damage, and really maybe even KOing one another, so I think it would go to a judge's decision, where obviously damage, control, style, and aggression are the criterion. And out of the two, Mortis was easily the one that was more controllable. Both robots were exceptionally aggressive. However, as far as rapid fire goes from the weaponry, it would probably be Mortis because they could do 2 hits a second. Damage would be difficult to decipher because obviously of the fact that they got such ridiculously strong armor. And style would be difficult to decipher because obviously both robots are very entertaining in the arena.
I think
So,
the judges would lean in favour of Dominator 2 for style just for their self-writer. As
that's
you said,
fair
it
enough.
is very flamboyant, and it puts on a good show whenever it self-writes.
Also, it looked sexy at the time, didn't it? I mean, with the flame decals and the gold paint. Oh my god.
Oh yes. I still feel that the Wedge of Dominator 2 would outperform Mortis.
Okie dokie. So despite all those facts, you're going to still go with Dominator 2.
Yeah, I'm just going to ignore what you said.
That's fair enough. That's cool. I wasn't having a go, like I said. I'm fine with that.
It is a tough one. I feel that because the pit plays such a factor, and as I said, the CPZs were hunting grounds. I just feel that Dominator 2 could, though Mortis was more controlled because it had the tracks, it's more controllable. I think Dominator 2 has more of that pizzazz and the wedge, and it's difficult to explain. I just think Dominator 2 in that fight would take it.
Yeah. Okie dokie, that's fair enough. So, Dominator 2 out. Dominator 2 through, sorry. Mortis out. I'm such an idiot. Jesus Christ. It's only 10:05 as well.
Is it that late?
Yeah. So, with that being said, Dominator 2 through to the heat final. Mortis are out. And next up it is Wild Thing versus Overkill GTI. How did the house robot circulation go? Because I'll be honest, I haven't been paying attention.
It's Matilda, Shunt, Sir Killalot, and Dead Metal. The reboot for.
Ooh, the reboot. Mate, we're in 2001. We are foreshadowing here.
Fancy. Right. As you said before, Overkill has a lot of ground clearance.
Yes.
Wild Thing is a relentless wedge.
Yes.
They are fast.
It is. There's no doubt about it. They are a relentless wedge.
They are fast. They are very well driven. I've been rewatching classic series. I'd forgotten how good Wild Thing was, if I'm honest. I do like the comparison to Scorpios and BattleBots. Like they're the Wild Thing of BattleBots because they just keep going.
They do. Yeah, they are. It's ridiculous. I mean, Nick Adams is one of the most underappreciated drivers as well.
Yeah.
In Robot Wars history, in my opinion, everyone mentions George Francis. Everyone mentions David Gribble. Everyone mentions Graham Bone, and they deserve to be mentioned because they're amazing drivers. But no one mentions Nick Adams, and he was such a good driver.
They didn't reach the semi-finals on multiple occasions for no reason.
Exactly.
And with that said, Overkill might get the occasional flip on Wild Thing. The self-writer was working fine on Wild Thing, so I feel that Wild Thing surely has this.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say that I'll say it this way. I love Overkill GTI. I think it's a good little robot. I think it had potential to be a semi-finalist in a different heat, but in the semi-finals, it definitely would have been a top 16 robot. I can't see it making it past the top 16. And had it made it through to the heat final, sorry, to the semi-finals against all the other robots, even Mousetrap. No, maybe not Mousetrap. Apart from Mousetrap, I would say it was probably the weak. It would have been the weakest one. That's not me having a dig at it, because at the end of the day, to get to the top 16 of any competition, you'd have to be considered pretty good. And I do like Overkill, but it's just against Wild Thing. I mean, Wild Thing's managed to expose lower ground clearances, and Nick Adams' driving, like I said, is just relentless. They wouldn't give Overkill a chance to flip them. If it didn't end via KO, it would definitely go to the judges, but I can't see Wild Thing losing on any of the criteria, really.
No, likewise here. Cool. So I'm happy to put Wild Thing through to the heat final.
Okay, and to be honest, I completely and 100% agree. Sorry, Overkill, but still, you won one fight. Fair play to you, mate. I do like Overkill. So, with that being said, we move on to the heat final. Ooh, I'm getting all excited as Dominator 2 goes up against Wild Thing. Now, before you mention the house robots, there are a couple. Actually, no, mention the house robots, and I have a quick couple of things to mention.
Okay, I have a feeling I know what these things are, but
okay.
So we have for this one Shunt, Sir Killalot, Dead Metal, and Sergeant Bash.
Okay, so first thing to mention, Evil Weevil is good. Second thing to mention, I'm not, but whatever. Second thing to mention, obviously we know that these two fought each other in Extreme Series 1, but obviously they were two different robots in Extreme Series 1. Dominator 2 had a brand new axe and more powerful pneumatics and different internals it was a lot heavier, and Wild Thing was a lot heavier and had a spinning disc.
But
so obviously
even then, that fight was amazing.
Oh, it was a great fight. Fantastic. One of the most, again, a very underappreciated battle, and one of the better fights of Extreme 1, honestly. If I had to do top 10 lists of battles from Extreme 1, that would probably be in the top 10 somewhere easily. It was such a good fight.
Agreed.
Close, down the middle, good attacks from both robots. But obviously, this is two I don't want to say lesser versions, but sort of like the earlier versions of each machine.
Yeah.
Which one do you think could take it out of these two versions? Do you think that it would be a premonition to what was to come, or do you think that it would be a different outcome?
Now, you see, I don't want you to tell me because I think that would sway my opinion. I can't remember who won that fight. That's how good a fight it was.
Really?
I've actually forgotten who won it, and I've only just rewatched Extreme. Literally, that was the last series of Robot Wars I watched. Other than the series
I won't tell you. I'll tell you at the end.
Yeah. I think it's going to go to the judges because these two robots are phenomenal. Both have reasonably good wedges. I think Wild Thing has the better speed and control with that speed, mean they can get to where they want to. The little lifty thing, I'm not sure will do much because, as I said previously, Dominator 2 is a difficult shape. They're very pyramid-like, and you can't get hold of that sort of thing. There's no little hooks or anything that are, other than in the axe mechanism, but that's set quite far into the machine. So I don't think Wild Thing will be reaching that. I'm honestly leaning towards Wild Thing here. As we've said, Nick Adams is a fantastic driver. The thing is, it just keeps going. It's relentless. Dominator 2, a brilliant robot, weapon-wise, and very flamboyant. I think if it went to a judges, I would have to award control to Wild Thing. Damage to Dominator because it has the damaging weapon. Aggression to Wild Thing. And so I don't think Dominator 2 would have to self-right, so I don't think they're going to be overly flamboyant in this fight, so I would probably give style to Wild Thing as well.
Okay. So you're going Wild Thing on a judge's decision, winning 3 criteria to 2. Sorry, to 1, sorry.
Yes, I am.
Okie dokie. Well, I can officially state to you that Wild Thing did beat Dominator 2 in Extreme 1 as well.
Well, there we are.
I'm guessing it was a mixture of the tyre being sliced, because obviously that's quite severe damage
Yes.
to a robot. Also, Dominator 2, whilst it did get some good axe shots in, it also missed a lot of them because Nick Adams was such a good driver, he was able to outmaneuver it very easily.
Yeah, and that you don't get control points for missing with your axe.
Yes. So I'm in 100% agreement with you. Again, I love Dominator 2, but I mean the way I look at it, is without a wedge, Wild Thing was able to outmaneuver and get underneath and push Dominator 2 around. Imagine what it can do when there's no disc there stopping them from getting underneath Dominator 2 properly.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It would go to the judges because, let's be honest, neither of these two robots are going to KO each other. They're too sturdy, they're too resilient, they're too reliable. But out of the two, Wild Thing would also get the vote for me on the judge's decision. And yeah, I can't disagree with your logic. So Wild Thing finally wins a trophy.
Yay.
It's an imaginary one.
It's fully imaginary in a parallel universe back in time.
Yes, mate, look, Nick Adams, if you are watching, which I highly doubt, but if you are, at least get solitude in that your machine finally won something. Yay! Because it generally is. It's one of the best robots to never win a trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that, and Dominator 2, both of them are. And I mean, can you believe that Hit Disc never won a trophy? I mean, it got a merit award at the end of the season. It never actually won a tournament to win a trophy. Can you believe that?
Well, can you believe Firestorm never did?
Yeah, they did. They won the Commonwealth. They won the Commonwealth Carnage.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Oh yes, it does because it's still a side event and they still won a trophy. I'm talking like literally did not win a single thing.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, even Gemini won the pinball. That counts because it won a tournament or a competition of some kind.
Their pinball run was great though.
It was a bit unfair though, wasn't it? Yes. Let's just okay. So every other robot has to be. It can only hit one thing at a time, but this one robot can hit two things at a time. Yeah, okay.
But that's because they built a clusterbot.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have been allowed. Not fair.
Are we saying that clusterbots are banned and sinful?
I like the idea of clusterbots in battle. I just think that design helps it way too much.
I'm not sure I like this fascist version of this universe.
Ding dong, your opinion is wrong. No, seriously though, it was bullshit. Anyway, so I think we can agree 100% that Wild Thing wins this little Christmas special of mine. Oh, bless it!
Hurrah! Hooray!
I actually genuinely enjoyed this. Actually, I was really happy. I was quite happy with the robots I picked. I think that they would have made some very good battles. And yeah, I actually genuinely wish this was a heat we got back in the day because I could imagine it would have been really, really good.
Anderson, it has been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. This has been great fun. I've absolutely loved it. Really, really good fun talking to you. It always is. So yeah, don't forget to check out Anderson 9132, the Robot Wars Guru channel. It's better than this one. No, it is. It really isn't. It's crap. But check it out anyway if you want to laugh at my rubbish videos.
Thank you all for listening. I hope you've all opened your advent calendars. I forgot this is Christmas based. Ho ho ho. Right.
What? Does the three birds just walk outside your window? Sorry.
No, I don't live in Southampton, mate.
I can't even laugh. That's true.
Yeah.
He's got very good.
Next week, of course, same time next week is the next episode of this. And if you want to hear more of Anderson, he will be appearing in Quizmas Wars Battle of the YouTubers, which I think everyone now is looking forward to because it's just going to be
can't wait.
Flipping ridiculous. It really is. Good stuff. Right, thank you, Anderson.
Thank you very much, Evan.
And thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are. Goodbye. Good luck. Evil Weevil's bad.
Ta-da. I mean, you're from Norfolk, so you're automatically wrong.
Racist.
Yes, because Norfolk is now a race.
Racist fascist universe. We're going to leave it. We're going to a different parallel universe next time.